This is Calmia from Rubblebucket, and you are listening to Recess with Spinelli.
You are listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, and for the New York State Music Blog. And today we are here with Cal and Alex of Rubblebucket from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yay!
Now, this is actually my first time here at Mass MoCA, which I guess by the looks of it is a modern art museum. How often do you guys play museums, if at all? Have you ever been here before, in particular?
No, and I gotta say, I have a serious case of art blue balls right now because we had like 20 minutes to walk around the museum, and I wish that I could have had a lot more. This is our first time playing in an art museum.
What type of art do you enjoy looking at / critiquing, evaluating the most?
I guess I'm kind of a person of art just in the world, like watching the way art unfolds from, like thinking of the way that nature unfolds in evolution as a type of art, and then watching it come through humans and just being so fascinated that the universe made all of this.
Also, there's this place. There's a Nick Cave, whole like Nick Cave zone. We're really inspired by this. He's like makes these really amazing otherworldly costumes, and I don't know. There's like whole rooms with his stuff in it here, and we've had costume creatures and stuff on stage and on our cover art that has been inspired by Nick Cave. So it's really cool to see that.
Is that what inspired that flower creature thing?
Yeah, we had this artist named Brandon Collins make that, and he said it was when we saw that, when we were looking at different options for the album cover, that one blew us away, and then he later said that it was inspired by some of the things that Nick Cave does, and we were excited by that.
Yeah, and then we created a whole world around this creature that we named. Did we name it Vashti, or it was named Vashti?
Yeah.
And then Cal even started like a Twitter account for it and stuff like that. And we made a music video and brought this costume creature on the road. And now it's kind of in shambles. But
The Twitter feed is still going, though. Vashti tweets like every month or so.
Does Vashti mean anything?
Actually, yeah, Vashti is like a Hebrew goddess of destruction or something. That might be way off, but I've heard people who knew the name Vashti, and they're like, oh, that's a weird goddess. But we kind of swept our own meaning into it. I don't think it was like the word as much as just the beauty or the concept of like a peace warrior. Vashti has soldier garb on, but is made completely of silk carnations.
For your concerts in the past, did you find someone in the band to put it on, or did you find like a random roadie person who just stuck this costume on?
We would just try and find a fan each night, or a friend. If we had friends in town, we would like get them to get inside Vashti.
it was a really tough balance to get the vibe right, because if people were too ebullient and drunk inside this costume, it would come across like what's it? Like not a Powerpuff. What am I thinking of? It would come across like kind of cheesy, or like too like almost Sesame Street or something. So I would always try to have them be like really stoic in this kind of huge flower, like kind of bulbous flower costume with like a orifice head. It was a tough balance.
So there are specific instructions on how to act when in the costume?
Yeah, and it rarely worked.
What were some of the more interesting experiences with putting different people in the costume? So
Well,
one that comes to mind?
We also shot a music video with this director, Alexi Bowling, and the concept was totally built around Vashti. He wrote a treatment for Vashti, and also inside of a chocolate factory, a functioning chocolate factory in Rockaway, New York City, on the beach. And we went and shot it in 2 days, and it was really fun. And we had a few different people play the part of Vashti, and our friend Yuen, who was also doing set design stuff and clothing design. She is a very petite woman, and she was Vashti for the end when it's a whole chase scene around the factory, and she was so exhausted, and I felt so bad for her. We were making her work really hard. I think she was getting a little bit done with it.
She also really liked it though too. But on stage though, there's been, I don't know, like there'd be times where like because there's only so much I could do once I'm on stage playing to get the thing to happen at the right time and everything like that, and I would be cueing, and people would come up, like, and their drunk friend would come up just like kind of all like sport clothinged out, like, no, not you, just the creature, and then like the whole back would be unzipped, and they would do some kind of weird bouncy spin around thing. And
So being at an art museum or looking at somebody else's art, maybe even especially modern art here, is what's going through your mind? Do you think is what's going through other people's minds when they're reviewing your art or trying to interpret your art in a way?
Yeah, like being in a museum, every time I go see art, like in this really concentrated space where it's just like, it's kind of just an extension of the world, at least here. I mean, good museums, but like similarly in all most like amazing art museum experiences I have, it's like you're exploring, and you just get so full body affected. And I've really been thinking about that. I think like as I've evolved into like a more mature version of myself, who as a child I had like constant wonder and exploration, and then like you go through these teenage years and you kind of shut yourself down, and then working back towards that expansion. And then as an artist myself, I really try to think of like the biggest way that something you put into the world will affect someone physically. Like it might make their brain think, or it might make their heart feel a certain way, or with music, like it might make their feet move or their knees or their hips or something. And then like I always want to keep zooming out, like how will it make them look at the person next to them, or how will it make them see the sky, or like think about their grandmother who died, or like even further out, like think about the whole world. And yeah, that's what really the best art does to me. It like totally rocks me in like a very holistic way.
What would you say is probably one of the more magical moments when you're engaging with the audience that makes it really worth communicating your message, playing in front of people, and just having a grand old time?
The whole thing is so magic. It's such hard work, and it's like great work, but there's a lot of downtime and hurry up and wait, like traveling. And today we just were in traffic for so many hours, and then like I can pretty much genuinely say that it gets washed clean every night when you get to look into people's eyes and just really like understand, oh, we're all experiencing this. There's an essence that's like a common communication we're all experiencing at the same time, and then having people come and sing along, and they really truly got it, and they want to share the room with you, and then like they know all your music. That's profound.
Do you have anything coming out EP or LP wise in the near or distant future?
Yeah, we're talking about releasing an LP by the end of this year, so definitely going to be releasing LP EP EP by the end of this year. And so some singles will be out soon. Like we're going to go on tour in September and October with Lake Street Dive, and also play some festivals in that time. And then we're going to do some headline touring in December, and like New Year's Eve shows. And then it always sort of comes together, like our whims sort of tie everything together. The fact that Cal and I are writing all the stuff ends up being pretty cohesive, but we definitely, from album to album, we were like more into Afrobeat and kind of kept some of that alive. But now we definitely want to bring more of the funk kind of horn stuff back in, but like keep going with the kind of surreal writing and stuff.
Actually, some more of that Afrobeat sound though, that comes more from Burlington, right? From UVM?
Yeah, well, we studied jazz there, and we really especially liked like Afro-Cuban music, and we both got to go on really cool music trips. I went to Cuba, and we went to Dominican Republic, and so we kind of like got that hooked in our bellies from an early age. And then also around that time when we were graduating, there was like a huge craze of like American Afrobeat bands like Antibalas and Nomo and Budos Band, and it was so inspiring. And so we kind of started out like in that territory, and then very quickly it just became a palette for us to write and express ourselves, and also have wild dance parties at the same time.
Now, actually, it looks like that you guys pretty much hit up 3 large music hubs as far as where you're located, going from Burlington to Boston to Brooklyn. What has each of the cities offered Rubblebucket as a way to grow in a way?
Burlington's like a really nurturing city. It's like I think about bands that start out in smaller towns where there isn't a bunch of playing opportunities. There's like one musician on each instrument. I don't know, like there's just a lot of individualism in Burlington, and the community is really, really encouraging. You feel really special there. And then, but there's a kind of a bubble to that and a limit to that. And then moving to Boston was just an introduction to a lot more musicians.
Those were like, we left Burlington at the end of college and we went to Boston, and it was like, oh, here's like a million amazing friends who have just stuck. Then we all, like, then there's always a huge road between Boston and New York for musicians, and because there's so many music schools in Boston.
We wouldn't have, we started out as a 10-piece band, and even as a 7-piece band, like, we would not have been able to be a band in Burlington, Vermont. Like, there's, everybody has jobs, and there's like 1 or 2 musicians on each instrument. I don't know, just we wouldn't have been able to exist as far as like be like really a hardworking band. So we had to move to Boston. Boston made that possible because there's a ton of musicians, and then Brooklyn brought a whole nother element of aesthetic inspiration, and just, I don't know, there's just so many like top notch of these like interlocking scenes between Afrobeat, soul, reggae, like indie rock, punk, I don't know, free jazz, like freak folk, and these creative art rock bands, and like Deerhoof Crew, and I don't know, it's just like total mashup, and everybody is kind of connected in these different ways.
So it looks like it's just about time for you guys to get up on stage, so I'll let you go. You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, and the New York State Music Blog. And today we have been speaking with Rubblebucket.